So I'm traveling back to New York, my beloved New York, but of course, my least favorite airports, JFK. If anybody knows JFK, they know that being at B-53 is not a good time. It is 10:15 New York time, and I'm all the way down at B-53 Terminal 4 International. So why would they decide to do something like that in the middle of the night? I have no idea. But needless to say, this is where I start my journey for my shifts that I do in the hospitals during the month. So I usually do 5 shifts in the hospital, and I spend time away from my family to do that. My 17-year-old daughter, who just graduated high school, she actually lives in New York and is spending the summer and her first semester of school in New York because she wanted to spend a little bit more time here. So that's really exciting for me because I get a chance to go home, be with her, watch some Netflix for a day or so. Also, this is where I do my beauty regimen. So I also have to catch up with all of the manicure, pedicure stuff and just kind of get myself ready for my month of work. So I'm out of breath, yes, and that's because I'm probably going to have to walk 2 miles in order to get my luggage, which is always really exciting in the middle of the night. So other than that, that's kind of how I start my crazy month of a traveling OBGYN. And next month, interestingly enough, I'll have 7 shifts. So that means a little bit more time away from my kids, my family. But at the same time, I get a chance to do great things, meet wonderful patients, and deliver babies. That's amazing. The other thing that I noticed too is that the airport is like really super busy. Like there are flights all over the place, which is nice. But it's like, where's everybody going at 10:15 at night? That's really weird. I gotta see where some of these flights are going to. They've got to be overseas. Let's see. This one is going to. Okay, this one is going to Lisbon. I think the other one back there, I don't know. Probably another out of the country flight, which is nice to see the world kind of getting back to some sense of normalcy. I really do like to travel internationally a lot of the year, and for 2 years that's really not been something that I could do. My husband and I, we truly love London and have been considering moving there at some point in our lives, but not really been able to spend as much time in the past 2 years over there. But it's nice to see the airport a bit busy because then that means our chances of being able to spend a little bit of time in London at some point will be, a reality. So other than that, it's sort of refreshing to see people out and about doing their thing in the middle of the night, flying internationally. So yeah, I hope everybody has safe travels. I know I'm about ready to go home and get in the middle of my bed, but I still have yet a patient to talk to this evening for my Monument platform, which I always try very hard to make sure that I connect with those patients no matter what day or time of night it is, unless there's ever emergencies on my end. But I always try to make sure I make those appointments happen. So even though I am traveling from Detroit to New York and it's late, I still continue to do my work because patients need us. So we'll see how that visit goes. I'm sure that patient will definitely be grateful for it. We'll see. So until next time, and until I get my taxi and my luggage, then we'll talk again about a little bit more of my crazy life as a traveling OBGYN. All right, guys. Talk to you soon. So now that I'm back on the Brooklyn scene, I'm finally home after the taxi driver just decided he was going to be upset because he forgot to start the meter, and then decided that he wanted me to give him the extra and a tip. And I was like, you didn't help me with my bag. So I was going to do that, but then I was like, no. See, because when you don't help me with a 50-pound bag to put in the car, I can't be okay with giving you a tip like that. Needless to say, though, New York is alive. It's amazing. I live in a very Caribbean part of town, so at night there's a lot of music, everybody's out. So coming back to all of this is like it's so amazing. It's like so alive. It makes me just so happy. My as soon as a plane lands and I get right into Brooklyn, my face just lights up. And so, but at the same time, I also use this time when I'm away from my other children to kind of catch up on a lot of work, a lot of paperwork, different things like that. And so not only do I do my whole beauty regimen when I'm here, but I also have to catch up on emails and different things like that. So while I really want to be in the mix of the night here in Brooklyn, I also have to remember to go to bed at a reasonable time, because I have to get up Saturday morning and act like I want to be a reasonable, productive person. So it's about close to midnight here, so about 11:40 or so. And it's just so crazy to see, the place just still full of life, like it's 7 o'clock at night. But it can get you in trouble too, because you also have to learn your limitation. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. So what happens is I want to get into the mix of that, and then I have to realize that I do still now require that 7 or 8 hours of sleep, where back in my 20s, early 30s, I could get that 5 hours of sleep and still be good. No, the wrinkles will show themselves very prominent if I do not get my sleep. So it is sincere beauty sleep is what I need. The other thing is too, is my daughter, interestingly enough, hurt her ankle. She was working today. She works with SUNY Downstate, and doing her little summer work, and they were doing some activities, and I don't quite know what happened to her ankle, but she's limping. So I asked her, I was like, oh, you want to do a movie? I was hoping to do our Netflix night. And she's like, no, I'm going to bed. So I guess that's my cue to start getting myself kind of wound down for bed. The other thing is too, is my kids are going to be homeschooled this year, because we don't really trust these numbers with COVID. And because most of my children are under the age of 12, there are only 2 of my children that have been able to be vaccinated out of the 7 of them. So that's really concerning for us. So we're embarking on something that's a little bit different. We did do remote learning last year, and my kids really excelled doing that. And I love that. Because they were able to really grasp a lot of concepts that they may not have been able to grasp when they were, in the classroom competing, for time with the teachers, and we were able to interact with them a lot more too. But this is going to be a little bit different from their remote learning that we're used to from last year. This is going to require a lot more of my time and my husband's time. So the one great thing about it is that we are able to just kind of, spend more time with them, feel like we're safe. We were really, in the heart and, of the epicenter of COVID here in New York. And so it was a very scary time for me, because I was seeing, hundreds of patients a week. And so trying to keep them safe, trying to keep myself safe was a really big deal. And I don't want to, after all of this time, expose them, because school is back in session. And I mean, my kids always brought home a cold, and it just kind of just went through the house and just ravaged everybody. So we definitely don't want that with COVID and the scariness of that. So that is part of the work that I have to do tonight, is to kind of figure out their online platform. So it's kind of dim in my place, starting to get that wind down, even though the music is still jumping and all of that outside. It still reminds me that I am in the heart of New York and the city, and I love that. But at the same time, I also have to be a responsible parent and figure out what our lives are going to be like come, the end of August, early September, and trying to figure out that platform. So maybe, as I get into things, in my day tomorrow, I'll do a little bit more of my, sort of life on the road, and my life back and forth between, Michigan, New York, that kind of thing. And just kind of give you guys an idea of sort of, what this life looks like for us physicians that, travel. But beyond that, I travel a lot anyway. So I have always had my place here in New York. I've always had my home in Michigan. So I've always traveled between the two of them. Now I just get to mix a little bit of work in the middle of that, which makes life make a little bit more sense than me, being away from my children and traveling just for pleasure. But I get to mix them into, my life in that way. So, all right, guys, I think I'm going to sign off for the night, but I'll come back at you guys tomorrow. All right, bye.